But while it's under contract, I found another investors that actually want that type of 10 units, and it was a little further away than what I wanted. So I got it 10 units, like I said, 50 down, finance 950, principal only payments. I then, while it's under contract, find another investor to pay. They paid us 10% down on 1.5 million. So they paid me 150,000. So we made 100 grand after I paid out 50. And then I master leased it to them. Not owner finance, I master leased it to them. So that way I can hold it a year or two. And then when they cash me out, I can 1031 the other, $500,000 gain.
How do you make sure you have a tenant before closing on it?
So what we do is when I'm looking, so let's just say we're here in Vegas, and that's actually what I was wanting to talk to you. I said I wanted to talk to you about something. I want to show you what I do, and I know it'll work here in Vegas. So how it'll work is we're going to put out two things. We're going to source for tenant buyers, and the tenant buyers will be homeowners or business owners that want their own location. Okay, and we're going to source for people who have, number one, money to put down. They have a good monthly cash flow, right? And we know their budget. So we're building a profile on both investors, or owner users or just homeowners. Then we source properties like residential for the tenant buyers for residential or commercial. We're sourcing at the same time. Over here, I'll build a list and I'll find out people that have 30 grand down, 150 grand down, 10,000 down, 100, whatever. And I'm building a profile. And then as I find properties, and let's just say I find a guy that has 80 grand down, he can do 3,000 a month and he wants a house for, 400,000. And I have that in the back of my mind. If I find a home that I can get for 350 or 300 or 400, I'm going to get it under contract. And even if they say they want money down, I'm going to go to my list. And let's just say that these guys say, hey, look, I'm willing to take 40 grand down. I'll go to this guy that has 80 and I'll say, okay. And I'll show him the home as I have it under contract. He'll give me 80. I'll take 40 out of that 80 and pay the seller and close on that day. I only close once I have the tenant buyer, you see? And then I'll cash flow. So if my payment's $2,500, I'm going to make him pay $3,000. If I paid $400, I'm going to charge him $450 minimum, and then I close. And I'd like to bring that over. I just don't see many people. All the old school investors used to do that. It just died out. And then you hear everyone talk creative financing, but they're doing some stuff that's a little dangerous in my opinion. They're telling you to borrow money from an uncle and put them in second. I don't do that. I just get it under contract, and if I find a tenant buyer first, then I close. If I don't, then I call the seller and extend it until I can find a tenant buyer, or I cancel. There's no harm, no foul, and I just say, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm letting you down, because my home that y'all visited, we pay literally technically no money down. I paid 4 months up front is what I did, but he was going to seller finance it to me. And I said, no, I changed it to lease with an option because the property tax assessment would have hit and been 90 grand more. So I calculated that in my head. We bought it at 7, it appraised for 12. So now imagine me going to another wealthy guy and say, look, I'm going to sell it to you for 10. You have 2 million of equity. I'm going to make 3 million. I'm paying 20 grand a month, and that includes the taxes and insurance. You pay me 30, and I'll give you a $10,000 a month credit toward the purchase price once you fulfill the option. You see, and I've seen that work so many times. We bought 18 units, 0 money down, 18 units. We got it under contract, 18 units. Our monthly payment was $12,000 a month, principal only payments. Before I closed, I found some young guys. They paid me $360,000 down and pay us 15 grand a month. So I only cash flow less though when I do that because I want the buyer to be able to fulfill what he promises. They're bringing upwards of $24,000 a month on that now. I bought it for 2.3. I sold it them for 2.7. And then every time I make a monthly payment, my principal goes down. When they do it, it's pretty much like interest only because it's a lease option. Yeah. So the longer they stay in it, the more my principal is on the back end, and then I'm able to do a 1031 once they cash me out. You see, so I like to use that method. I just don't hear anyone.
Yeah, on the lease option, how do you claim ownership rights if you want to depreciate it or write it off?
Oh, you're talking about when I buy?
Yeah.
Well, you can't. You can only write off the full monthly payment. Okay. But imagine this. So if I do a lease, okay, and I'm paying 20 grand a month, if I pay a lease, I get to write off the full lease if it's business. Now, This is my personal home that we're using for right now. But like if this was for rental, like if I'm going to lease option and then sublease option, then I get to write off the full monthly payment. But what I did is I got them down to let me give me a credit of 10 or 20 grand a month toward the purchase price if I fulfill.
I see.
So now I get the credit on both ends, and I go to the bank. It's going to help me refinance because they're going to see all the credits I've paid that goes toward that purchase price, which helps me with my amount down. So I'm able to come out no money out of pocket. What's a good example? Okay, a good example of a commercial. I bought an old Sears building for $700,000. Instead of seller financing it in the beginning, I had the master lease it to me for a year. And during that 6 month, the first 6 months, I bought a spring floor for gymnastics. I bought taekwondo stuff, and I bought that all using debt so I could write off. And then as phase 2 happened, they did a seller carryback of 200 grand. I got a loan for 500. Then the bank paid me the day that I bought it 50 grand. You see? Mm-hmm. So, but I got all the credits of the monthly payments that went toward the purchase. So I didn't have to come out any money down. You see?
Got it.
Yeah. So I like to be very creative, not just creative finance, creative even with traditional, because I have 33 different ways to buy, and I only hear people talk about cash, traditional, and subject to, and all. But really, there's 33 different ways.
You can't 1031 into a lease option deal, though, right?
No, you can't do that.
This is just a new deal starting from scratch.
Yeah, that's it.